Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. We bring you unique insight and analysis behind your favorite teams at the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Shantz. Got the whole panel here tonight. To my right, we got Brady King. What's going on with you?
Man, not too much. I'm back. Obviously, we've had episodes since I was off, but I'm back. Back here on here with our basically weekly episode with Kris. So glad to be back on. Hear all his takes and hear what he's got to say about all this great, probably the best college football weekend of the year up to this point, if we're going to be real. And then I'm just ready to be back on and very excited. Man, we got some crazy storylines to talk about for sure.
For sure, man, definitely. And obviously down below in the bottom right, we got the infamous Matt Ricketts. What's going on with you?
What's up, man? Back with our guy Kris again. A lot of big upsets this week. Got the new rankings to talk about. I'm excited. Ready to go.
Yes, sir. And obviously, Kris, thanks for coming back. The little weekly show we got going on, man. How you feeling?
I'm here to push narratives. I'm here to push the Bo Nix for Heisman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm front seat with it. No, I'm really excited to be back for real. Obviously, I can talk college football for forever. So I'm thrilled you guys keep I'm doing a good enough job to keep coming back, and that is always a plus for me. So thanks, Chase.
Man, appreciate you coming back on, man. It's a weekly thing, and we ain't gonna waste no more time and all that. We gotta talk about our Buckeyes, though. It was obviously 21-7 in that game. It was a really ugly, ugly game, ugly conditions up in Evanston, Illinois. There was just a lot of ugly going on. But at that point, Ohio State just had to get the win. They squeaked by. They did what they had to do. C.J. Stroud even ran for more yards than he did passing, which is. I never thought I'd see the day happening with that. But, I'm going to ask you, Kris, what's your initial take from this game overall for Saturday?
It's funny. A lot of people get caught up in, style points especially. And for me, November is just win. Style points for the rest of the year. November is just win. I don't care how you win, just win. And honestly, to me, it was really cool to see. I feel like the last couple of weeks we've watched kind of the evolution of C.J. Stroud, because in that Penn State game, there were flashes of really the growing up, the hair on the chest, the real let's go win this no matter what, win this at all costs. And we kind of saw that carry over the next week at Northwestern. I know the conditions were an issue, so they had to scrap a major portion of their playbook. And obviously, I was frustrated by a lot of the receiver drops, mainly because there were times where CJ drove the ball well in the rain and in the wind. And Julian Fleming kept the gloves on. So I'm a big believer if it's raining, take the gloves off, makes things way too slick. But again, really, it's just about winning and kind of going from there. I'm not too concerned about the run game, if I'm being super honest. I'm not too concerned about our run defense like a lot of people are. Because again, November is just win, and I don't care how you do it, because you win. Your whole season in front of you starting on November 26th.
Yeah. November is basically March in basketball. So if I haven't advanced, that's really all it is. Is you see the boys turn into the men, the big boys turn into the men. So that's kind of how it goes. Brady, Matt, what was your thoughts on Saturday for Ohio State?
I've said it many times, and I'll say it before. Every game for the rest of the season is just a preview for November 26th. And all we're going to do is we're going to judge these two teams together and see what we can take out of it if the college football world is going to change their opinion on who's better, Ohio State or Michigan. That's all people look about in these Big Ten games, especially against inferior opponents like Northwestern. So what people are taking out of it this week is that Ohio State is apparently soft again because we gave up a touchdown on the first drive of the game rushing, because they had a bunch of wildcat. They were throwing out wrinkles that they hadn't thrown before. They were motioning out the running back, running a counter off of a fake toss. They don't run that ever. They were just throwing that wrinkle out for the conditions. And then they scored in a similar play. And then other than that, obviously the offense looked awful. I'm not happy to see the run game like it was. However, I do believe Mayan was a little bit injured still, the way he looked when he ran. He didn't run like he had been, to me at least. And like Kris said, it's really good to see C.J. Stroud with that fire. He ran for that 4th and 1, got maybe 20 on that play. Then he was flexing, super hyped. It's good to see that out of him, that he's a football player and not just a, beauty pageant.
Pretty quarterback, a pretty Cali quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It kind of felt at times he's kind of just a pretty quarterback. And I'm not saying like he couldn't have had those moments or anything, but like up to this point, I haven't seen much of that from him. So it's good to see that. And I still think our defense played good. I mean,
56 carries to get 200 yards. Like I'm not sure what the big idea is here.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't really concern me. And I thought it was interesting, kind of to your point. Our run defense. I mean, we like Northwestern ran 76 plays. For the most part, we played with 2 linebackers the entire game, which is crazy when you're going up against 13 personnel, like 3 tight end looks, fullback looks, wildcat looks. Like we remain in that same package. So that is, and there were times where the DBs didn't, fit well in run fit, but for the most part, like I was okay with the defense. I mean, outside of the one drive you take it away, they average like 2.1 yards per carry the rest of the game. So
for sure. And I was at a basketball scrimmage and I was on the bus on the way home, and I'm just trying to get home. And I do not like being on a bus with a bunch of no offense to all of them, but a lot of my teammates aren't Ohio State fans. They just think it's hilarious that they're doing bad, and I cannot be around people like that. and I'm just going
bus ride.
And then we had to stop at McDonald's. It was an hour bus ride. And I'm like, do not stop at McDonald's. Get me home. Like, I do not want please just go home and put me out of my misery and let me watch this game as we squeak past Northwestern. Like, I don't want to hear it. I need to watch because the service was terrible. So it was hard to even watch the game at times. And every time so I was looking on the ESPN app and I just kept seeing CJ Stroud's pass incomplete intended for Julian Fleming. And I was going to lose my mind. I'm like, bro, I get the weather conditions. I'm like, there's no way. Like, what is going? I just wanted to see what was going on. Then I turned on the film and stuff, and I just see it's kind of tight coverage. CJ's putting the ball pretty well in the conditions, and Fleming's not catching it, which we hadn't seen that this year from Fleming like him. So it's got to be like you said, gloves are not smart to wear in the rain.
Gotta take them off. Gotta take them off.
Exactly. It ruins the purpose of having gloves when it's raining. It's going to be harder to catch the ball. So take those gloves off. Clean up the run game. I want to see that run game on the last drive against Notre Dame because Notre Dame has a solid run defense. We see their defense is pretty good. We were able to run the ball on Notre Dame at will that last drive, and I just want to see that fire again from our offensive line. And I think it'll be fine, but I hope we see some glimpses before so we can feel better going into that final showdown on November 26th.
Definitely heard that.
Yeah, them boys, I mean, honestly, we shouldn't really, be overly concerned or anything like that. I know, conditions come into play and all that stuff, but like I said, on the run defense, against Northwestern, I mean, 56 carries and you only give up 200 yards. I mean, that's less than 4 yards a carry. So, I mean, you got to have, some type of positives coming there and everything. But, I'll give it to Matt down here. Matt hasn't had a whole lot of speaking time lately, so I'm giving him a little air to talk. What you got?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not too concerned with the run game at all. I think they're going to start running more gap scheme things. In my opinion, I think it's what's going to end up happening. I don't think there's any other choice for Ryan. I think we run a lot of stretch, and our guys are just not getting out there, stretching it out offensive line-wise and getting movement. It's too much side to side. I just feel like with Mayan and Trey, I think it's more of a downhill attack is going to be better for us running gap scheme stuff. So I think here in the next couple of weeks, you'll see more of that than we have seen recently. So I'm not too concerned about that. Defensively, I'm not concerned at all. I mean, we gave up 7 points. Okay, one drive. You're allowed to have a shitty drive every once in a while. Every team does. So in terms of defense, I'm not worried about that at all. I think the biggest thing I was worried about was the drops that we had. The times that we got open in the rain and I know it's raining, I know it's windy, but CJ is throwing pretty deep. There was a couple times where, he would overthrow people. The wind would be, affecting his throws. But for the majority of the time, he was putting it on guys. They just got to make the catches. So I guess the biggest thing is the drops. But the more and more we get throughout the season, I don't think we need Jackson Smith-Njigba, but I really
it sure would be nice to have him, right?
Yeah. The more it just puts so much stress on the defense having 2 guys, Jackson and Marvin on the edge. It takes this offense from really, really, really elite to it's going to be so hard to defend. I'm not going to say unstoppable, but it's damn near. So hopefully, we can get him healthy. I'm not expecting to see him this week at all, but maybe next week against Maryland a little bit, and then
I hope so.
I hope Michigan, even if we take Maryland off and he's full go that week of practice, and then boom against Michigan, he's ready to roll. That would be, I think, the most ideal scenario. But I just want to see us get more physical a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, not on defense. I'm not worried about us stopping the run, which is a big deal from last year. It was more of we can't stop the run, but we could score on offense. Now, we didn't always run the ball really well last year, but we were able to score points, not be able to stop Michigan on the ground. I think we'll be able to hold our own against Michigan up front in the trenches this year.
And we adjust so well. Like, we adjust so well this year. It's absurd.
That's basically my biggest takeaways from it.
Yeah. I mean, talk about it, like, it would be nice to have Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, we already know we're a really good team, even if he's not on the field. But it's just like, we got a game plan. The team's got a game plan for Marvin Harrison. But honestly, Jackson Smith and Jigba in the game, like, oh, shiver me timbers, like, we got a problem. That's really what it was coming down to. But, man, I mean, Ohio State, obviously taking that next step forward. We got Indiana on Saturday, Maryland, and then, obviously we're, 18 days away from November 26th. So, can't wait for that. But going to the big game of Saturday, coming into it, we'll talk about the other big game that went down in just a moment. Georgia and Tennessee. Georgia got the win 27-13. Stetson Bennett was 17 for 25, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Hendon Hooker had his first human performance, I'd say, 23 of 33, 195, and an interception. Quick takeaway from this game, Kris.
Hendon looked bad. The Heupel offense is predicated on kind of like really quick reads, reading one half of the field, and Hendon struggled at times with that. Georgia tackles so well in space. They play like they don't use utensils when they eat. They just like use their bare hands. It's absurd.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kirby Smart had it dialed up. The weather played a little bit of a factor there. And one of my complaints about Hendon Hooker, one of the things that I worried about in general always, was he doesn't make a ton of NFL throws. A lot of the stuff is him throwing to guys that are kind of running free, and it kind of reared its head because against Georgia you had to make NFL throws and he just wasn't making them. There were 2 or 3 deep balls that I thought could have and should have went for touchdowns that he did not complete. So that obviously that'll hurt, but Georgia did them a favor by not running up the score when they absolutely could have and making this look like the Oregon game. And because of that, honestly, it's funny because we might see Tennessee get in over Oregon at the end of the year. Kind of with that being the common data point. But, Tennessee's an interesting case. They're either, when the offense is really good, they're phenomenal. But there was a punt in that game too. Like my favorite sequence that it was 75-yard punt down to the 1-yard line. 3 and out, should have been a safety, then went short field, and then Stetson Bennett scored really quickly. So, the things with Tennessee, they remind me of us last year. Like they can't stop a nosebleed. And when you can't stop a nosebleed and you can't start a nosebleed, it's going to be a disaster on that side. So, but Georgia's really good, like really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah. I mean, that's why they move to number 1. Obviously, we'll see how all that stuff goes down there. I mean, they're obviously going to make the SEC championship, number 1, probably going into that game and everything. So, at that point, I mean, they are the number 1 team right now. We'll see what happens come January. Hendon Hooker, he is an NFL age, but obviously did not make those NFL throws. He did not look good at all. Matt Brady, quick thoughts because we have to get to this Bama LSU game.
Georgia has solidified themselves in my head as the best defense in the country. Like I don't have any real doubts about that anymore. And then their offense is also very formidable, and they can move the ball if they need to. So very deservable number 1 ranking there. And I really want us to play Georgia at the end of the year to see what we're all about.
Well, 1 versus 2, if that's the case, we'll get it maybe. All right, Matt.
Absolutely. I think Georgia's game plan coming in was attack Tennessee through the air, get a sizable lead, and then play their game, their comfortable game, milk the clock, get after them on defense. I think the biggest shock of the game was how Georgia's front 7 was able to attack and get pressure on Hendon Hooker. Without Nolan Smith, they struggled all year trying to get pressure on the quarterback as compared to last year with one of the best defenses we've ever seen. So I thought that was the key to the game, was really Georgia was able to get after Hendon Hooker a lot more than I expected.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. I mean, Georgia, obviously, they made Hendon Hooker look like he was under duress the entire game, and he just did not look comfortable whatsoever. But on the other hand, Stetson Bennett just, was sitting back, drinking a cup of coffee, doing whatever he had to do, and, just manage the game. And he did what he had to do, 98.1 quarterback rating. I mean, that's damn near spotless and everything. Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers didn't have a huge game at all, but those guys did what they had to do and obviously resulted in a 14-point win. But this one came down to the wire, and this one came on the right side of things. LSU 32, Bama 31. I mean, Alabama, they are, as said, Kris, dead and gone. The Grim Reaper out here. But man, what'd you take away? How about Bryce Young's draft stock going forward and all that? What's the thoughts there?
If I'm Bryce Young, I hang it up. I'm not playing another snap for Alabama. Style of play is an issue because obviously they like to hold the ball a good amount. His shoulder's not 100% healthy, and he'll never talk about it and admit to it. If I'm Bryce Young, I shut it down. If I'm Jahmyr Gibbs, shut it down. Those are guys that are going to be top 2 in their position groups, and now they have nothing to play for. And then on the flip side of this,
health. Will Anderson too is already.
Will Anderson. Throw him in there too. So those three should be absolutely done. Shut it down. It's over. Do not play again. On the flip side of this, I think we're witnessing a really cool time in college football. LSU is a sleeping giant. The last 2 coaches to be there are bad coaches in terms of head football coaches. The last 3 coaches have all won titles, the one obviously being a very good coach. There's so much talent in Louisiana. It's similar to South Florida. It's just a pool of talent, and the area recruits itself. Alabama has been able to build this dynasty off the fact that they've only ever had to split talent one way, whether it was with Florida when Urban was there or whether it was with Georgia. If they now have to split talent 3 ways because there's a competent head coach that is going to wake this thing up, that will accelerate this backslide of Alabama. The simple fact of the matter is LSU will always stumble into these random little pockets of NFL players, but they've never had structure at the head coach. They never had a good, solid, firm head coach that is going to maximize them. That's always been the case. 100%. Now they have a coach, Brian Kelly, say what you will. They never lost games when he was with Notre Dame. They shouldn't have lost. Whenever they were favored, they won. I believe they lost 1 game they were favored in the last 3 years he was there. That means something. That means he does what he's supposed to do.
For sure.
Now, if he can start to tap into that Texas area in terms of recruiting-wise and grab a kid or 2 out of Florida and take chunks out of Alabama, which that's the key word, chunks of talent out of Alabama, you could see a quicker acceleration. Over the years, with the emergence of Georgia, what Nick Saban has done is gone to Texas for their pool to crack talent from that area, in large part because Texas has been down and Louisiana has been down as well. That is no longer the case. LSU is back, and they're going to be back in a big way, and they're going to move. This is what's going to happen the next 3 to 4 years, and this just solidified it for me.
Let's do it.
LSU is going to move into being the next UGA of the conference, and UGA is going to move into being the next Bama of the conference. Now we're going to see some sliding issues with what does Bama do. Additionally, Nick Saban made some mistakes in the past 5 or 6 years that people honestly don't want to talk about. One of them being, instead of going and hiring the best available defensive coordinator, he felt like he was at a point where he wants to grab a young kid, groom him, and get him ready. That's Pete Golding. Guess what? Nick Saban's invested 4 years into Pete Golding. It's not working out. It's not. They're whenever they need him the most, he's not adjusting. Nick Saban's also invested in a young coach, Holloman Wiggins. Guess what? Receiver play has been one of the weakest elements for Bama. So now, if you're Nick Saban, you thought at this point of your career that you would have these 2 guys ready and staples of the program with strong units so you didn't have to kind of revamp the program every single year. Now that's not the case. This is effectively going to shorten their career because Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs hit a lot of holes and issues within the Alabama program, period. That's just what it is. And same with Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams was Batman last year. He effectively saved their season on multiple occasions. So now Nick Saban is going to have to get rid of Pete Golding, who is kind of like his son in the coaching world, and then get rid of Holloman Wiggins if they're smart and bring in a guy like Gary Patterson or someone else. But guess what? When that happens, that creates lots of staff turnover. The one thing that accelerates the end of elite head coaches' careers is having staff turnover. You cannot be this far in your career, lose your OC, your DC, and your receivers coach. It's not a recipe for success because at this point, it's supposed to be about Nick Saban being the motivator, not the mastermind. And for me, we're watching it. It's not going to go down overnight. We're watching it sink slowly, I think. Now, there will be some shots of some battery packs. Gary Patterson's a really good DC. When it comes, it's going to be a quick fix. But guess what? If you get Gary Patterson, that becomes a 1 year, 2 year rental. Then you're back to the drawing board with having to go get another coach. That paired up with the fact with, turnover like that makes it harder to recruit, and LSU being able to recruit too. It just feels like the perfect storm for me. And this was step one. And also, we're getting Keeley. So like in all this, like, we're getting Keon Keeley.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know anything. I'm not plugged in or anything. So that's where I'm at. That's my Bama rant. Take the microphone away from me.
Man, like I'm telling you though, like we gave you the open mic and you took that thing to the next level though. Like hot takes central. I'm telling you, I need to check out Chris's corner, man. I mean, just check out the recruiting, man. I'm just telling you.
No, this is about y'all. Take my mic away, man. You got started this. Take my mic away. Take my mic away.
All right, shoot. I'll pass it over to the guys over here. What y'all got, Brady? What you got?
Hey, we bring you in here to take the mic. You're all good.
Exactly. Yeah. Why
we want to hear what you have to say, and you know. We know you love to talk college football. We want to hear that.
I'm fired up. And also that game was a great watch.
It was awesome.
Yeah, like that game was a great freaking watch. Like Jay Daniels, like to win the game, like everybody's nuts dropped. Like it was. I loved it. It was top tier stuff.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I remember because I was watching this game next to Matt, and Matt kept going, "This is a great football game." And just like talking to himself, I'm like, it is a great football game.
Is that how you talk, Matt? It's a great football game.
All that with about 15 beers down, but yeah, I mean that's about how he sounds. You know what I'm saying?
All awesome. Matt, man.
We was all with each other for the game, though. I mean, it was a hell of a show to watch. You know,
it was, and like he's talking about, you know, Holloman Wiggins and Golding and even Bill O'Brien, like all these coaches that are struggling right now. It's just funny because I feel like Jamison Williams was an even bigger piece for Alabama last year than anybody even realizes.
It's huge.
Because think about it. Him leaving, we were brought to think that this Bama team was a generational Bama team coming into the year because all they really lost was Jamison Williams and Mechie. Mm-hmm. Was Jamison Williams just that good for their offense? Because there is no passing attack to be seen that's elite downfield passing. Like – to be found. And last year, every single big game they played in, things would not be going well. And then in the blink of a second, 7 more points are on the board for Alabama because he
would house one. Every 3 catches, he would house one. It was absurd.
It was nuts. And it was like, wow, man, like this is unreal. Like imagine what our receiver core would have been if we would have had all 4 of those guys and then Marvin Emeka on the bench as well. But imagine we could have ran so many 4 wide sets last year. That would have been so dope to have. We also would have eliminated Bama from the playoffs last year because they don't win. They lose at least 3 games in the regular season, maybe 4 without Jamison Williams. So that would have been so dope. But enough of that. I remember Jamison Williams' dad. I forget his name. It might be like James Williams or something. I don't think it's Jamison. I don't think they have the same name. But he said that Holloman Wiggins must be a better coach than Brian Hartline. And now we see exactly how that looks like.
Yeah, that is a nuts take. Looking back at it,
because they have. I mean, Ja'Cory Brooks was like a borderline 5-star out of high school. I mean, he looks maybe like their best receiver, but he still doesn't look that good. Like, I don't think Ja'Cory Brooks is any type of first-round talent or anything close to it. And then Trayshawn Holden is average at best. Their freshman receivers look promising. Kobe Prentice.
I like Kobe a lot. Kobe Prentice is going to be a real good player, but we'll see how their quarterback play looks next year. They're going to have to hit the portal.
I agree. I would hit the portal for sure if I was them as well because I don't trust Milroe too much at this point, and that we don't know anything about. Forget what the other freshman, Ty Simpson.
Yeah, Ty Simpson, Eli Holstein.
Yep. And then so their quarterback situation is really interesting. So I'm ready to see where that goes for next year because. You know, one of them might have to step up this year if Bryce Young hangs it up like we're thinking about. Like, that's my first thought after that game is when they showed Bryce Young. I'm like, man, is this dude done?
Dude, we just watched the last snap was what I thought.
Yeah, like I was just thinking about it because before the Michigan game last year, I didn't think about the fact that if we lose, Garrett and Olave are probably done because I didn't ever think about the possibility of us losing. Right. And so I never really thought like – and then I was walking out of that stadium – just walking on the concrete, like walking to my car, which was 2 miles from the stadium, worst 2-mile walk of my life. And I'm just sitting, I'm looking at I'm just walking like with my head down. I'm like, wait a second. We're never going to see Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in a Buckeye uniform again. And I just started
bring tears to the eyes right there.
And that just reminds me of this moment, except I don't really care that I'm never going to see Bryce Young.
Man, ain't going to see me that Crimson. Sure.
Good riddance.
Yeah, good riddance, dude. I never have to worry about you again.
Oh, man. But, yeah, we might not see that happen and all, but, obviously, we'll look at a positive side on LSU. Matt, this was a good football game, as you said, about 20,000 times.
It was a great football game.
What made it a good football game on LSU's side of the ball?
Well, Jay Daniels is very dynamic. I mean, we've seen in the past just running mobile quarterbacks giving Bama the most fits. I mean, there's ever a success, you know what I mean, or a key to success against Bama. Having a mobile quarterback is definitely one of them. But in terms of what Kris was saying, I think I disagree with some of what he was saying about terms of the coaching turnover being one of the. I think if we've seen throughout Nick Saban's career, one thing he's been able to, his coaching tree is just massive. So the turnover, now I will say this, I do agree with some things. I think the biggest difference this time is these coaches aren't leaving to take other jobs like the ones before him. He was able to replenish all the great coaches he's had that have gone, Kirby Smart, gone on to Steve Sarkisian, gone on to take extra or new head coaching jobs. I think that's a big thing. But these coaches now are going to be ones getting fired. So I do see that part where you're saying, well, the turnover could be bad. However, I don't think it's a problem for Saban to get new coaches. If you guys understand what I'm saying, there's never been the turnover. I don't think is going to be the problem. I think it's just going to be like he did say, LSU coming in and taking recruits from him. It just takes a couple for each team. Texas coming up, that's going to limit Alabama and Texas now recruiting wise with Sarkisian, things of that nature. But in terms of getting good coaches and still being able to recruit, I don't have any doubt that Nick Saban's going to be able to do that. So the turnover thing I disagree with, but in terms of having other programs come up and be able to take, snag a recruit here, snag a recruit out of one state, I do think that's a big deal for sure. I just wanted to get touch on that.
My biggest point on kind of the not so much the coaching turnover, but like he grabbed Pete Golding from a small school and like poured so much into working him up to get him ready, so he didn't have to worry about losing him and having to go somewhere else. So like that's kind of been the block, and that's been the recruiting. That's been the quote unquote Saban Jr. He's treated him like a son. So to like bring him in from a small school DC where he didn't really deserve the job at Bama, and to work with him and groom him, and then this is still the result you get. I think that not so much in terms of like being able to get coaches. I think that takes a lot out of Saban, because I don't think he would have had to worry about replacing a DC just on that front. But no, he's the best in the world at replacement hires. I just think it shortens his timeline if he has to continue doing it.
I agree. I agree with that part. I do. It was just, what I mean? I just didn't think that it would have totally affect recruiting as much as what what I thought you were trying to say. But,
I do think losing Golden will really take a shot at recruiting. Golding is one of the best recruiters on that staff.
He is a great recruiter. I just think Saban's had so many great recruiters and lost them to other schools, and he's just been able to find great ones.
Yeah,
and bring them in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so no. My take is hot. My take is hot and out there. I absolutely hear you.
I just think
right. He was.
I just think I just think I can't doubt him. I got full. I don't know if I can still ever doubt the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? I just want to play devil's advocate to what you were saying.
No. Play it, bro. It's your show. Play devil's advocate. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'll tell you.
I could see either way. Like I get both of your sides, because on one side of me is saying if they lose their defensive coordinator who's been landing these great 5-star recruits, Caleb Downs, was in the driver's seat for Keon Keeley for a while. If all these recruits that he's landed over his time at Bama has been insane. And then. So you're thinking like that'll obviously hurt recruiting, but then on the other hand, like Matt's saying, Nick Saban has done this so many times, so it's so hard to, maybe this just affects a couple recruits.
The only difference is this time is like he's going to be the one firing these guys or telling them like get out, as opposed to the other guys, Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, went on to take bigger jobs because they got offered bigger jobs. That's the only difference. This time he's got to get rid of the guys rather than them leaving on their own terms. That's the only thing.
And with Pete Golding, like Saban made Pete Golding.
Right.
That's a big thing I'm hung up on. Guys, he was the defensive coordinator at UTSA. Right. He was a young Saban went and grabbed him in 2018 and gave him the keys to this with the expectation that he would be the next great DC at Bama. Like, treated him like a son, and to have to fire him then, like, he vouched for him when he got the DUI. He's done everything he can for Pete Golding, and for Pete not to pan out, I think that takes a lot out of Saban.
Not much
That
more
could,
you can do
you're
with
very
that.
well, yeah.
Tell you that. But man, the amount that Saban, the list that Saban has is equivalent, of replacement coaches that he has is equivalent to Future and the amount of baby mamas that he's got going on. Shit. So I just want to give a second to just give a nice little laugh or two at Clemson just getting their ass fucking kicked in South Bend. So I mean, just I'm damn near gonna just give a fucking round of applause for that shit. I mean, I think a couple of us called for that going on.
So beautiful.
This past week, we kind of thought this would be the first, this would be the time that Clemson was just gonna, take a kick to the teeth and all, and they certainly did. I mean, what were they down 28-0 at one point? I mean,
in the fourth quarter,
they were getting their ass blasted. I mean, it was hilarious to see. But man, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to really talk about in this game. The fact DJ got literally replaced, and then the guy comes in, throws a pick. DJ comes back out there like, we have shit. We can't do anything. So basically, at that point, it's just funny to see. But I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time to talk about this committee reveal rankings ahead of Week 11. Just released again. It's a fresh batch from the top 4. You've got Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, and TCU 4. What do you guys think in first look at these things?
It's what I expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad the committee's being consistent. This should be the top 4. And this sets up a really cool down the stretch kind of scenario that we could get. If everybody does what they're supposed to, I think it'll end up Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, TCU 3, Michigan 4. And I'm okay with that. So no, I'm here for it. Good call by the committee. Georgia looks like the best team in the country, and additionally, I like that Ohio State will remain 2. Go be the hunters, not the hunted, and so I'm here for it. If you win, you're in, and that's all that matters for me as an Ohio State guy.
Yeah, and I really want to see. I want to play Tennessee also. Like, I feel like that'd be a really cool playoff matchup against Tennessee, and and then you got Michigan. They'll get beat by Georgia, which again, because we already saw what it looks like.
You never know.
Yes, you never know, but I just would love to go into the playoffs knowing that we just won against Michigan, if that makes sense.
That's the only way we're getting the playoffs. I don't know. That's not the only way.
I think the rankings are set up for 2 Big Ten teams.
I agree. Well, it depends. It depends.
Unless we blow out, Michigan or Michigan blows out us, I think both of us get in. I do. I think if TCU loses a game, I think it's Tennessee, and I think if TCU wins out, it's TCU. I don't think Oregon has a legitimate chance. They shouldn't have a chance. In 2018, we lost by whatever it was to Purdue, and we were just automatically eliminated, even after blowing out a top 4 Michigan team at home.
And even though they were only ranked 4, a lot of people
they should not have a chance to make the playoff. They lost by 46 points. They shouldn't have a chance to make it. I don't care if they win every game for the rest of the year. So I think it's a 5-team race. I really do. I think it's a 5-team race.
Man, I feel nervous vouching for us to get in with 1 loss now, man. I don't even want to think about losing that game, but
that shouldn't even be a thought. I mean, we got to go out there and kick the shit out of them. But yeah,
5-team race. Who are your 5 teams?
Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee. I think those are the 5 that are vouching to get in. I don't think USC.
What about LSU?
LSU.
Well, they have 2 losses though.
That's the thing. Yeah, once you get 2 losses, you're done.
I take it back. It's a 6-team race. If LSU wins every game, they're in.
You got LSU in there?
I think in that scenario,
every game, I feel like if you beat Georgia and Bama,
if LSU wins every game, they're in.
It's the SEC champion, and we're talking about the College Football Playoff Committee.
If LSU wins every game the rest of the way they're in, it'll be 3 SEC teams, and it'll be the winner of the Big Ten. That's what it'll be.
You think Tennessee
Pac-12
gets in there?
one win Pac-12 team out?
1 win Pac-12 team out,
or 1 loss?
Because I think it's going to be Oregon.
It's a really weird scenario. I honestly just hope. I'd love to play Oregon in the playoff first round, like if we got the chance. But I think Georgia's going to be the number 1 team. So because I don't think they're going to lose again. So I'm honestly hoping the Pac-12 just I hope Oregon loses a game. No offense to Oregon. I really don't have much against them or anything.
We don't like the Bo Nix for Heisman. I do
I
think
do
it's
like
funny
that.
that Georgia chose not to brutalize Tennessee the way they chose to brutalize Oregon. That
I
ended up being
think
the
I
big
truly
difference.
believe it's because they think that they might be able to get him again. I really do.
I
It's
think so
fucking
too.
weird.
Like
I think they might be able to get him
9-minute
again.
drive. Mhm.
They didn't want to. They didn't want to beat them so bad that they didn't make it because they know that they could beat their ass whenever they want. Like
Game of slow death was all it was. I mean, they could give them a quick one if they felt like it, but man, like
They threw 2 haymakers and then just stopped boxing the rest of the round.
that's
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
was
saying.
cool,
Like,
yeah.
Their game
Opponent was
plan was
stumbling.
clearly get a sizable lead and then play their classic Georgia ground and pound, play great defense. That was clearly their game plan, and it worked to perfection.
They
Like,
had a
it
10-minute drive in the third quarter.
I know, bro. They just ate it up.
They just didn't care. They were
It was
chilling.
beautiful.
It's absurd. It's absurd. They're so good at football. They're so good over there.
it's tough though, I'll tell you that. So before we talk about probably the best game of the week coming up, just briefly touch on that. I was looking at the AP poll rankings before they came out with the the college football committee stuff. So I was looking at, in the AP poll, was looking at the SEC had 5 teams in the rankings of the top 25. The Pac-12 had 5. Big 10 had 4, ACC had 4, and the Big 12 had 3. So what I did was I just looked at it, put the rankings and the numbers and just, obviously did the traditional add them up, divide them out, get the mean average, all right? So the SEC had an average rank for the teams at 6.8. So, the number 1, 5, 7, 10, 11, all right? What they had. So 6.8. The Big 10 was an average ranking of 10. The Pac-12, ironically, was 12, as well as the Big 10. The Big 12's average ranking was 15, and then the ACC's average ranking of all the teams combined was 17.25. But honestly, here's the thing. Here's what I came to, all right? If you're putting, depth-wise of, conferences when it comes to the top 25, I say the SEC has a little bit more of the advantage over the Big 10 would. But if you're looking at the 2 top teams, from each conference, if you're putting 2 across the line, Ohio State and Michigan obviously is above. I take Ohio State and Michigan over the SEC's top 2 teams, over the Big 12's top 2 teams. That's what I came to. But I think SEC has a little more depth when it comes to, the quality of teams in the top 25. But if you're looking at up front, the top 2 teams up front is Ohio State and Michigan. I think that's kind of how I would take it. I mean, take what you want, but I mean, there's 2 Big 10 teams that are literally in the top 3 of the rankings. Just food for thought.
I agree. Yeah, I think that Michigan and Ohio State have an argument. I mean, you can't just say much about Georgia after that game being lower than 1 after how they played. But in terms of just us thinking who are the 2 best teams, I've thought for a minute now that Ohio State and Michigan might just be the 2 best teams in college football.
Until last week, until Georgia beat Tennessee the way they did, I thought that they were the 2 best teams I've seen all year. Now, I think Georgia has solidified themselves as the best team so far that I've seen. They played the best game so far of anybody in college football. Put it that way. They played the best game. So
I would have had Michigan as the top 2 team if they could throw the ball. If they could throw the ball at all this year, show the life of that, I would have had them as a better team than Georgia going into until last week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're acting like the Michigan fans were acting like once Cade was benched that the offense would just become some type of air raid fireworks offense, and that's not what this is. They don't throw for any more yards than they did with Cade because they don't throw the ball well. All they run is 5-yard hitches and stuff before in front of they don't throw the ball downfield often at all. And when they do, it's not amazing. Watching it is not pretty.
When they do, they don't complete it.
They don't.
Man,
they don't.
Game shaky. That's
I swear, if we get beat on deep balls against Michigan, I'm just gonna be depressed. We better not.
That won't be how they beat us.
I don't think so either. It would be on the ground. It would be kind of I hate to say
last year
because they're not going to beat us. Everyone, calm down. And they're not beating us. But if they did, it would be because we somehow didn't stop the run.
It's a dose of last year. That's literally the formula of how they would beat us. But obviously, the defense is obviously adjusted, made the things they had to do, and so I mean that should not be a problem. But man, 18 days from that. One more thing before we get out of here. The last thing on the ticket. I mean, look at this. You've got Texas was number 18. I looked at the AP poll before this when this came out and all that. But man, TCU Texas is I think this is the biggest game of the week. TCU is going into Austin. They're playing a Saturday night game. It's going to be Fowler and Herb Street on the call. This is a big-time matchup. We're going to see what they look like on the road in November, see if they can stay undefeated, put the task at hand against Quinn Ewers. Kris, what's your early initial thoughts on this big-time top 20 matchup?
I'm hearing that QJ might be out for the year.
Oh.
Whoa.
For who? What do you hear?
TCU.
I know. I'll say what are you? Yeah, I know who it is, but like, what's going on?
He got injured in that Texas Tech game.
Wow, I saw he got injured. I just assumed it was a quick tweak.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing he might be done for the year.
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously, like it's really hard to get a pulse on college injuries, but that's coming from a couple people down in Texas. So we'll see. That's what I got. I mean, he's a freak show, and Max needs him. So yeah.
I hate to say it. I hope we play TCU then.
Damn, how many teams do you think we won't play? I mean, we got 2 playoff games.
He wants a March Madness for college.
I do. I want. This is what I want to happen. Okay.
What the fuck do you want to play? Pick somebody.
Well, I mean, Georgia, obviously.
I mean, you want Georgia, Tennessee, TCU, Oregon. Damn.
I was talking about if TCU Michigan lost. The Tennessee situation, I was talking about, like, if TCU lost and, like, Michigan and us got in.
I get what you're saying. I'm just like,
but in this situation, is if TCU wins out and they become number 3 and we're number 2, I want to play them and then Georgia. Okay. Or them again, them and then Michigan again. I mean, I don't care. I'll play. Well, Tennessee.
How many scenarios you got in your mind, man? Like,
well, I just want to play. Up there. I just want to make the playoffs, honestly. But I just want to play. I would love to play TCU more than anybody else at this point. They get the playoff, like in terms of us winning the game. Right. And yeah, like after hearing this Quentin Johnston news, especially, like that's their best player. And
I'm waiting for more on it, but I'm hearing that it's not looking good.
We're gonna keep an eye on that.
I hope that's bad info though, if I'm being super honest. I love the kid.
I do too. Yeah, I don't want him to be injured or anything. But if he happens to be injured,
you live with it. You know what I'm saying? But anyone's got any final thoughts before we get out of here? Brady, Matt, Kris, floor's yours.
I gave every one of my hot takes. Like I'm good.
That's true, man. It's pretty hot up in here. I don't know why I'm wearing a sweatshirt. Like it's pretty hot. You know what I'm saying? Brady, Matt, right side, what y'all got? Strong side, weak side, what y'all got?
Man, I gave some hot takes as well here and there, like all the playoff teams I want to play against and stuff. But I just love to talk about college football, and it always gets me fired up.
Can't believe it's only Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, and we play Saturday, and I just can't wait. And I hope we just run the ball down their throat, throw it all over them.
He hopes we beat Oregon, TCU, Alabama, the Bears, the Bills, the Patriots.
I do.
God damn, the fucking Bengals. Like, come on, man.
The Bengals, the Chargers. Yeah. If something else happens, we could end up playing TCU and Oregon in the same night. We
maybe.
Might
get they're gonna beat St. Ed's and shit.
We have to.
Oh my gosh.
We got to play against every big team. This playoff because
inside a month, like damn.
We need the revenge on Oregon. We need to play TCU because they don't have their best player, and we need to play Tennessee because we need to see Hendon Hooker versus Stroud, and we need Alabama to actually make the playoffs. We need Bryce versus CJ.
Man, make the March Madness bracket, man. Go on ahead. You got all the time in the world to do that. Matt, you got any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm good, man. I'm ready for another week of football. Just getting closer to November 26th, man.
Yes, man, being around y'all, like I've absorbed so much more college football knowledge and stuff. Like I'm a big NFL guy, right? But I've absorbed a lot more college football knowledge and stuff like that. And my love for college football is growing. Are you guys turning me in to more of a to like a bigger college football fan? The NFL, fuck no, it's not happening. All right, but hey,
just be a Buckeye fan. You get penciled in for 10 wins a year. It's nice.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. That's true. But man, I've already stayed loyal to my Cincinnati Bengals. We're gonna see what happens with that. But man, love best of both worlds. But man, with that being said, I'm Chase Johns. Below me, Kris Drew. Right side, we got Brady King, Matt Rickus. We'll see you guys next time.